I'm super excited about today's show. I have an extraordinary guest with us. It's the famous Dennis Yu. Dennis, for those of you that don't know who Dennis is, he has managed or touched or handled over $1 billion of marketing for companies like Nike and Golden State and Rosetta Stone. But what's more impressive to me about Dennis is not the amount of the knowledge he has around marketing, but it's how freely and abundantly he gives knowledge away. Because that's the type of person that we want to be as a company. And that's the type of people we like to work with. And so if you're that type of person, you're going to love what Dennis has to say because he's going to give you knowledge around digital marketing, Facebook ads, and social media marketing. But more importantly, just listen to the way he talks around and how freely he gives to people, because that's the thing that I have come to love about Dennis more than anything else. The knowledge that he provides is extraordinary, world-class, best in class. But to me, Dennis, the person, is better. So without further ado, thank you, Dennis, for being here.
Thank you, Justin. Wow, that's a great intro.
Yes. Well,
Put a smile on my face.
Yeah, it's been an extraordinary opportunity for me to just be associated with you. I appreciated the time you spent with me to just give me some pointers, and the fact you're willing to come on here with who you have helped and the type of person you are shows that. So thank you.
Thank you. Hey, let me ask you a question.
Yeah.
What's the difference between a witch doctor and a real doctor?
Which doctor, a real doctor? I don't know.
A real doctor has a certification and they interned somewhere. They went to medical school. There's a clear standard of practice. There's no witchcraft. There's no voodoo. There's no magic or mystery on how something's done. A lot of my doctor friends, they look up how to do a procedure on YouTube, which is sometimes scary, but also kind of cool in a way, right?
Right.
Because there's not you take any kind of doctor, there's no magic to how you do a bone marrow transplant or how you reset someone's, like whatever the, procedure is. There's no secret to it, is there?
No,
Or
absolutely
like
not.
a doctor that's doing surgery is using a particular kind of scalpel, that it's because they have the magic scalpel that they have a, better patient outcome. Is that why? They
Right.
went to
Yeah,
medical
no.
school and there's a clear standard, right?
Right.
So what we're talking about here today in digital marketing, I believe there hasn't been a clear standard for quite a while, at least not recognized. We've done it with digital marketers, Social Media Examiner, all sorts of different industry groups, and I'm not saying the government has to come in to regulate the thing, but I think a large part of the nonsense that's occurring in digital marketing is because there's more witchcraft than there is actual practice. You know what I mean?
Right. And that's the reason I wanted you to come on the show, because we're all about helping doctors find dollars that don't need to be lost, helping them succeed, helping them have a bigger vision outside of their practice and and the money they're making and more towards impact.
Yeah.
But if they're spending dollars unnecessarily that aren't producing results, they need to know about it, or not producing the results that they think they're getting. And so you're the world-class expert on digital marketing. So what is the mistake that you are seeing for the medical industry when it comes to hiring digital marketing agencies?
One of my favorite quotes is that prescription before diagnosis is malpractice. And so I see a lot of people jumping in and saying, we're going to do A, B, and C. Well, if you're a doctor and a patient comes in to see you and they say, you know what, Dr. Justin, I want heart surgery. How much is the heart surgery going to cost? You're not going to operate right away. You're going to say, well, let's take an MRI. Let's, oh, you know what? Good news, Dennis. We examined you and we found out you just have heartburn. You don't need heart surgery. And so if you're a doctor and you're working on, you need your marketing improved, you're going to take an MRI first, right? I want to take an MRI of your business to see what needs to be done, because every patient is different. Every patient has a different situation. I'm not going to have everyone take the same pill or do the same medication or do the same surgery, right? You wouldn't do that on a patient. So why would you allow that to happen with your marketing? The beauty is when you audit or take an MRI of a business, it's very easy. For example, within 2 minutes, I can list a couple things that will capture 90% of the problems. There's no conversion tracking in place and the call tracking that ties to the EHR. that gets passed back to Google and Facebook, tied in within a Google Tag Manager, having sequences that do proper remarketing. Of course, legally in the United States, there's limits on things like that. Making
Right.
sure that local service ads are in place. If there's a category there, like, as you know, dentists is a new category that Google just launched. That's an obvious way to be able to rank. Looking at the SEO, we want to see, are there spammy sorts of links and how much domain authority is there and where are those links coming from? Are they spam links, or are they ones that actually are for, that city? So let's say it's a dentist in Dallas. Do they have links from high-powered dentist sites and from Dallas area businesses and organizations? If not, then the SEO is garbage. It's easy to audit. Right? In 10 seconds, I can use Ahrefs or Majestic or SEMrush or Moz or whatever your favorite tool is and see whether there's legit SEO being done. I'll run the website through Google PageSpeed Insights, and I can instantly see what's the mobile site score, what's the desktop site score. If either of those scores is under 90, you've got a problem. Are they using a common content management system, maybe like a WordPress, that fits in with whatever, dentist or chiropractor or whatever specific vertical software is being used on the AHR side, so that we can have proper tagging and linking between content? If I do a search on maps, or I do a map result using like a local Falcon or one of these other tools, I can see where they rank on what terms within a 5-mile radius. That's easy to audit. Everything that I've mentioned here is easy to audit. You don't have to be an expert to be able to use these tools. You have to just start with the data. And then based on what's wrong, then it's easy to figure out, like, you know what, maybe the name, address, and phone isn't exactly the same between Yelp and City Search and Google and Facebook and all these other sorts of places. If it's not, then we don't have proper local citations, which causes us to not rank properly when people are doing local searches, which, map results are 25% of local searches. See, it's all of these are simple things that you can audit. And then for each thing that's broken in the audit, you just fix it. There's no voodoo. There's no magic. You don't have to decide between which digital marketer you think is the most competent or which one you like the most, or, you know what, I'm going to use so-and-so because my other friend, Dr. So-and-so, uses them. I mean, that's good. I like to go on recommendations as well and reviews, but I like to go on the competence and the actual evaluation of my own data, right? I need to see all these things. And I'm surprised that doctors don't know. I mean, you do it for your own patients. So
Right.
why don't doctors apply the same methodology to digital marketing? Do they think that it's more magic or it's more like this art than a science? Digital marketing is every bit a science as much as medicine is. I just gave you a list of these things, right?
Right. Yeah.
It's
So
easy.
how
You can't argue. These are standards made by Google and Facebook and WordPress. You can't argue it, right?
Right. So how do the doctors are hearing this, they might not know all those terms just used or how to go about, how do they audit themselves or how can they get someone to audit them so that they can see, like, is this person actually doing anything for me?
Yeah, easy. There's several things. So it's like a lie detector where there's multiple. If any one thing doesn't work out, that might be okay. But if there's a clear pattern, then something's not right. So first off, you want to know what a pro digital marketer is going to be able to do in an audit. So if you do a search for my name, quick audit, you will find a list of all those items. Now, you might not know how to do each one of those items, but you sure as heck can hold an agency or a freelancer or your own internal marketing people accountable to that. Well, Dennis said that you should run it through Google's PageSpeed Insights tool to find out if the site is loading fast and there's too much JavaScript or if caching isn't. You don't need to know, for example, Justin, what synchronous versus asynchronous JavaScript does, right?
Right.
I have to know what that is. But if you run the scan, you literally put in your URL into PageSpeed Insights, which is Google's tool, and it gives you a score, 62. Oh, well, geez, that's probably not a very good score. And then Google says, here's all the reasons why, and they tell you how to fix it. You don't have to be a web programming technical engineer expert to understand that you got a 62 and that your issue is you have too much JavaScript and you have 105, GET requests that have a 10 megabyte payload. That's too high, right? And here's the standard, and here's where you are, and you're way too big or way too slow. Your site loads in 15 seconds, and it really should load in 3 seconds. Like things like that. Do you personally need to know, Justin, how to tune that website to make the site load faster? No, but you can run a report using Google's tool or Facebook's tools or these other tools to determine that, this thing is, it's like you step on a scale. 300 pounds, 5'2"? Well, you're probably obese, right? These things are easy to tell, right? Now, fixing the problem of obesity or fixing the problem of, my social media isn't working properly, that takes some effort. But at least can we start with the idea that it's easy to diagnose what's broken?
Right.
If you diagnose it, then from there, you've put the problem in a box. You've confined it so that you can't have a marketing agency come in and say, oh, it's going to be $50,000 for a new website. I know as a dentist, I can charge these guys $50,000 because they don't know any better, right? They're
Right.
almost as dumb as the lawyers, right? I know I can milk them good, right?
Right.
There's standards, right?
Yeah.
Like I see marketers that don't obey standards as like accountants that are a little too creative when it comes to taxes,
Right.
There's
Yeah.
standards. So one is, you ask, how do you tell? One is just like look up Dennis Yu quick audit and you'll see the audit standards. Number two is when you're talking to an agency, have they done it for, let's say you're a, oral surgeon, whatever, right? How many oral surgeons have you done this for? And can you demonstrate the checklist that you've gone through? If an agency says, well, that's proprietary and it's a trade secret, we can't tell you that because it's, very special, run. If they say, and here's another question to ask, do I have full admin control over all my assets? Now, almost all agencies will say, oh, yes, you do, but they don't. Full admin access means that if I'm going to ever leave you for whatever reason, who knows, right? We are all starting out singing Kumbaya, but if later,
Right.
I want to leave you, are the ad accounts mine? Is the website mine? Or do I have to create a new set of ad accounts on Google and Facebook and all that? Set up a new call rail, call tracking number and all that. And I lose all the history. I lose all the data that the pixels gained. I lose all the momentum from, the system, Google and Facebook having learned who my customers are. I got to start over with a brand new pixel. And most agencies, if you ask them that kind of question, at first they'll say, oh, yeah, it's all your data. And yes, you have access to your stuff. But then when you actually ask, do I have admin on those accounts? Then they'll say, well, not really, but we give you access to this other little reporting system that sends a summary of the data, but you don't actually have the account. It's actually ours because we own it. And, if you ever leave us, you lose it, and that kind of thing. So if you just go by those three things that I mentioned, that'll weed out 95% of potential agencies. And the ones that are left, I'm not saying hire, but you're going to be way more likely to be successful to see if your marketing's working there. Now, if you get that in place, you have the access, there's a clear process. They've done it for 4 or 5 other people in the same industry. Then what you do is you look in the change history. You know how to look at the change history inside the different accounts? Okay. So let's say I'm running ads for you and I talk a really good game, right?
Yeah.
And maybe the results are okay, but then it dips for some reason, right? And we're not getting as many calls, not as many patients, whatever, to getting the wrong kind of patients, too many Spanish leads, whatever it might be. And I'm wondering, I'm saying, hey, Justin, tell me like what's going on with my account. The numbers aren't as good. And maybe, I make up some stuff because that's what agency account managers are like. Waiters, they don't actually know what's going on in the kitchen. So they're like making up some kind of story about why the food's taking too long because they don't know how to cook the food.
Right.
They're just waiters basically. And it's usually one account manager manages 20 or 30 clients. So they can't keep on top of everything there. They're basically salespeople. So then what you do, if you have access, you bypass the account manager and you log into the account. And this is something where a lot of doctors and lawyers are like, oh, I don't want to mess it up. Or I don't really know anything about this kind of stuff. No, it's really easy. You go into the settings, look at the change history, and you can literally see every single thing that has been done. You can see someone changed a keyword, someone changed the bid, someone changed the budget, someone created a new ad, someone added a target, someone a negative target. They've changed the objective from cost per click to cost per call. They set max bidding in place. They created a performance max campaign. You can see all the things that they've done. Justin, guess what we see most of the time when we come in and audit and look at the change history, whether someone's touched something inside Google or Facebook or the website? What do we typically see?
My guess is it probably doesn't show. No one changes anything. Is my guess is they just set it and forget it.
The work was done in the first few weeks when that client was new and, someone had to build some campaigns. And then afterwards, nothing happened for months, sometimes years. That's what happens most of the time. And it's not because the agency is a scam or trying to steal your money or is illegitimate, it's because the setup in most agencies, they're so busy trying to go to that next client that it's just it's operational ineptitude. There's not a clear process to make sure that we're checking in on these patients. Like in a hospital, the nurses have to make the rounds, right?
Right.
So the agencies, they don't have people to make the rounds. They have an account manager who's basically a waiter who's trying to just make sure you don't cancel. So they'll refill your water basically, but that's about it. So somebody has to be looking over the accounts, and just because no one's looked in the accounts for the last 6 months or done anything at all for the last 6 months doesn't mean the agency's bad, nor does it mean that the performance is bad. Because the performance could, maybe the campaigns were built initially and they were built well, and no one needs to touch anything. And we see that happen a lot too. But then you have to wonder, well, why am I paying $5,000 a month?
Right.
If no one's doing anything? And then the correct answer is that the agencies know if they were to charge you $50,000 to set up some Google ad campaigns, you'd say, what? You mean for a few days of work, you're going to charge me $50K? Instead, you say, hey, it's $5,000 a month. And then over 12 months, you have this hidden payment plan. It's financing.
Got it. This is really good information, and I hope that people are catching a lot of the similarities to your business. Because something that really stood out to me is that digital marketing is the same thing as finance, it's the same thing as tax, it's the same thing as dentistry and chiropractic. Good firms all do the same things, and they're just in different industries. And that's what really stood out to me as I've been learning and listening to you, is that digital marketing is no different than any other well-run business.
Yeah. If you want to be a pilot working for the airline, you had to go to flight school, right? If you want to fix cars and be a mechanic, if you want to do any of these things, there's a clear set of processes that you use, and you're an apprentice, or you're an intern, or you're doing some sort of work under someone who is a pro for a few years until you can open up your own shop.
Right.
That's what happens in the trades, but it does not happen in digital marketing. It happens in all the other kind of certified professions. You learn from somebody. You didn't just, take some weekend course and now all of a sudden you're out there, doing tax and finance and advising people on things you have no idea about.
Right. No,
Most agencies don't
100%
publish
right.
a standard. They can't point. Literally, ask an agent. You got me on a soapbox now, but ask any agency. So, who do you look up to? Like, how do you keep in the know? There's no continuing education credits in digital marketing, right? Not in this industry. But who do you follow, and who do you look to as the source of expertise, right? And are you publishing what you're learning? Are you sharing as part of the community? Are you contributing, like, in those sorts of ways? And most people, if you ask, who claim to be digital marketing specialists or experts, they can't name anybody. I was with somebody at this conference here in Dubai, and they claimed to be an expert in social media. I said, really? So who are 3 of the social media people that you follow? They couldn't name one.
Wow.
So what? So tell me, like, what were the latest books that you've read on social media? Right? You can't name one. Okay, well then, if you claim that this is your area of expertise, then how? Based on what? I mean, if this is your career thing, and you're declaring yourself to be an expert, I should see clear evidence. I should be able to look at your LinkedIn and see the mutual friends that we have that are experts in the industry, right?
Right. That's a really good point. Like, as you're saying this again, it's just vibing with me, because I'm thinking of like all these people that are in my industry, which you could view as competitors, but I like follow what they're doing and I'm listening to what they're saying. Is there something new that they're bringing? Not new in the terms of like creative, but just like, are they saying something differently?
Yeah.
So that I can be at the top of what they're trying to achieve. And it's the same exact thing here.
Yeah. In this industry, it's the same thing. In every industry, it's the same thing. The people who are the best are not afraid of competitors. You don't have any competitors. We're all collaborators.
Yeah.
One of my friends, when he was starting out doing Facebook ads, his name is Azriel Ratz, and he's from Israel. And he's really smart, worked really hard, but he struggled in some ways. And he got his big break and got to speak at Social Media Marketing World, which is the conference for people that want to do Facebook ads. And we were both on stage together, and we gave presentations, and then there was a Q&A where he and I were both on stage, and the audience asked a question that he couldn't answer. And I answered it on Facebook ads. And I felt so bad because we also had Facebook on the panel and they couldn't answer the question. And then I answered the question, right? Which is kind of cool because I was smiling. And then when other questions came, people just pointed at me saying, hey, the Facebook guy pointed at me saying, Dennis should answer that question, right? And I thought that was kind of funny. The Facebook ads guy should be the one answering the Facebook ads question. But afterwards, I kept in touch with Azriel. And then I met him a few months later. And just because I felt I wanted to like make up for that time that he was embarrassed on stage last time. And I said on stage in front of 800 people, I said, this guy here, my buddy Azriel, he's the king of Facebook ads. Because he did such a good job, in the last few months. And I saw the work that he did. And then ever since then, and that's been 6 years ago, ever since then, he's been telling everybody, Dennis Yu says I'm the king of Facebook ads.
That's cool.
And what he's really doing is saying that I'm the king of Facebook ads, right? If he's saying like my authority somehow has built his career by saying that one time on stage at a big industry conference, that he's not a competitor. I never viewed him as a competitor, even though he does Facebook ads. So do we, among other things. And he never viewed me as a competitor.
Right. It's the uplifting. And this is why I wanted people to hear this, is because what you're saying right now is how the mindset they should have around business. Like if this is not your mindset, this is the mindset you should have, because you're probably being held back by not having this mindset. And this is the way you should be thinking, the way you should be approaching your competitors, the way you should be approaching your industry, is everyone should be lifting each other up. And it's going to help everyone. And this is outside of digital marketing. I'm so glad that we got on the subject, because this is the abundant mindset that is so non-existent in our world for a lot of people, but should be a lot more existent.
Yeah. It's funny. Like my buddy Glenvo, he's a dentist in Denton, and he's become very successful. He doesn't have to go to the office anymore. He could sell this practice if he wanted to. And he had all these other dentists that he's been teaching, just sort of by accidentally, because they want to know how he's able to grow and all that. And he had enough dentists that followed him that he created this thing called the Nifty Thrifty program. And now he has 40,000 dental professionals in this. And he's got all of these discounts because he's got buying power. So all the people that are selling gloves and equipment and whatever that dentists buy, he's negotiated group discounts for all of them. Even though a lot of these guys could be competitors of his, he's not. He's literally sharing everything openly, freely. And it makes him money too. And it builds his community because it builds great reputation. And so I find the mark of someone who's really good at something is they share it for free. They don't make you have to put in an email address or pay $997 to get access. Just publish it. Like that's how you found a lot of my stuff, Justin, right? You literally Google it. It's right there. You didn't have to pay a dime for it. No.
And it's very comprehensive. Like it's very actionable for anyone that wants to just do it. You just have to do your own school and go to town and make it happen. So I really, really appreciate you sharing this, because I think my experience with medical practitioners and doctors is that they do get into silos and they do start to see themselves as like, I can't share my secret sauce, even though the secret sauce isn't that secret. It's just their method of delivery. They're their product. It's not nothing special about the way they deliver it. It's themselves. And so share away.
Yeah. I went to a Gordon Ramsay restaurant yesterday here. I love Gordon Ramsay. I like watching his shows and all that. And he's published some cookbooks. And because of his TV show, you've heard of Gordon Ramsay, right?
Yep, absolutely.
Because of his shows and cookbooks and all that, and I've watched his videos on how do you cook a perfect hamburger. I've watched that multiple times, and he shows the technique. And because I've seen him show how he cooks a perfect hamburger, I went in and I've ordered, I don't know how many Gordon Ramsay hamburgers, right?
Right.
I had the beef Wellington last night. That's his classic dish, right?
Right.
Because I've watched the YouTube videos. I've watched Hell's Kitchen, where all these contestants are, where he's like criticizing these cooks or whatever. And the more he shares, the more I want to eat his food, right? There's no secret, right? And just like the stuff that we do in digital marketing to drive leads and sales and rank on Google and all that kind of stuff, you see that we literally publish it. Is there any secret in anything that we're doing?
Right. And I think this is a good transition point, because I think oftentimes dentists, doctors, chiropractors, they struggle with, okay, well, how do I share my message? Like, does it need to be long? Does it need to be short? Is it in blog form? Is it just on Facebook? Is it on YouTube? Where do I put it? There's a lot of confusion around that. and you have a lot of easy
Mhm.
solutions around this as well. You're the creator of the dollar a day method, the 1 minute video, like all these cool little, they're not
Yeah.
tricks. So there's things that work. They're
These are
methods, they're
simple techniques.
strategies, right?
Yeah.
Techniques that I
Yeah.
think a lot of these dentists and these doctors and these chiropractors can benefit from and start taking action on and put into their practice so they can share, so they can get their message out more effectively.
Yeah. It's that simple. For example, a 1-minute video. So when you uplift your staff and you have a dream board, right? And this is something Glenn and I have talked about many times. When you elevate your staff and celebrate their anniversaries and celebrate their families and celebrate things that don't, or patients, you don't violate HIPAA, things like that, then it shows other potential patients that you care. It shows that you're part of the community. And it's not even like showing how you drill teeth, or like, that's not what we're trying to say on the how. We're trying to come across as like when you share these sorts of life stories, people identify with who you are, right? You say, "Up, I'm at my, I'm in line at Starbucks and I order my double cappuccino, or whatever it is." Like people will say, "Oh, I order that too. I go to that same Starbucks too every morning." Or you humanize, and people make decisions. This sounds crazy, Justin, but people make decisions based on how well they identify and like you, not based on whether you're actually a really good dentist or not. Now, obviously, you have to be good at the thing that you do, but it's the association and it's the vibe. And like, how many times have you made a decision? You ate at the restaurant because that's where your friend ate, or you
Right.
made this decision because, so and so's wife also goes to the same church, or like that's how decisions are made. I have a friend who is a leading cosmetic surgeon, and he ran some ad campaigns where if you came in for a free, or let's see, he has liposuction. And he drove these women in by giving away a free lip gloss. That was his number one campaign driver. And he'd
Wow.
ask these women, "So you decided to, get liposuction with me, which is a real surgery, right? What made you decide to go with me versus all the other plastic surgeons in Denver?" You know what they said?
The lip gloss.
It was a lip gloss that cost $1. And it wasn't, and he got kind of mad. He was telling me about this. And he said, "I thought, at least they'd look up, my history, look at, my credentials, look at what I've published, look at the equipment that we use, look at, reviews and ratings and all this kind of stuff, board certified in all these different areas." Nope, not at all. They don't even care. So most doctors are out there marketing as if they're trying to market to impress other doctors. That's not who we're trying to. If the goal is more patients, meet patients where they are. Like chiropractors, for example, are some of the most guilty of using all this, industry terminology that just confuses the potential patient. It's that simple.
Right.
Use plain language, right? You could run it through ChatGPT and say, talk to me like a 5-year-old, right? That's
Right.
why Donald Trump is so successful, because he freaking talks at the 5th grade level, right?
Right. That's a good analogy. So now that they understand, okay, it's like elevation, it's stories, it's not just trying to seem as the smartest person in the room, but it's telling a
Right.
story of the impact we're having on our patients' lives. Where do they
Yeah.
post that story? How do they know where to post it? Because I think a lot of people just think, well, I got to get really good at one social media, Facebook, or I got
No,
to get really good at YouTube.
you know
Ex-
the answer.
Yeah, just
You make
demystify that for them.
you make the video or the piece of content once. You don't make it for YouTube. You don't make it for Facebook. You don't make it for any particular channel. You just make it on your phone. And then you, or ideally someone in your office or some young adult that goes to our training, can repurpose it, meaning they can edit it using a Swiss Army knife like tool, like Descript, that sort of processes everything. You don't have to be a video expert. You just literally you don't have to be a musician anymore. You can just press play and you're a DJ, right? You don't have to play the violin. You can just press play. And that's what I think all these tools in digital marketing have made it so it's like using a Keurig machine. You just stick the thing and press the button, and now the AI does all kinds of crazy editing and things like that. So you make the video once, this kind of story, something that humanizes you, some realization that you have, elevating someone else because of their achievement, or so-and-so just had a baby. I don't know, whatever it is that humanizes you, right? Humanizes them. Shows that you're a part of the community. Shows that you like to eat at this restaurant, whatever it is, right?
Right.
And then when that gets posted, you can cross-post it to many places at the same time. So now you're on Facebook, YouTube, TikTok, Snapchat, Twitter, Threads, whatever, Instagram, all these places at the same time. But you only had to make the content once. And that's what a lot of people don't know. And they don't realize that a 1-minute video is the ideal vehicle, because you literally can just tell one story in 1 minute. One thing that happened today, not 5 things that happened, not a summary of your whole career, not like everything that you've ever done, which then I've seen doctors, they launched this whole sales pitch of every single procedure they have. And no one wants to sit through that.
Right.
But if you feed them just one thing, talk about one procedure, talk about one patient, talk about one moment in time, each of those is a 1-minute video. And then the algorithm can figure out who needs to see any particular piece of content. But if you string 20 things together into one piece of content, the algorithm, meaning Google and Facebook and these other guys, they can't figure out who to serve it to.
Right.
The algorithm is smarter than we are. The thing literally knows, like TikTok, for example, it knows what you like very well. It's like mind reading. It knows what everyone wants to see. That's what the whole feed is about on every single social network. But you have to feed in one ingredient at a time to let the system do its job.
Right. I love it. Is there anything that we haven't talked about today that you think dentists, doctors, chiropractors should be aware of when it comes to digital marketing or sharing their message, or just something that we haven't touched on that you think is like, man, I really want them to know this, so they can take it to the next level?
It is a lot easier to do digital marketing than any agency or consultant would like to have you believe, because the person you're talking to might be an expert, might be a salesperson who can talk a really good game. But when it comes to the actual implementation of whoever is the one actually doing the work, it's probably a young adult or someone in Pakistan or someone with very little experience. And this is like the dirty little secret of agency land, right? And thus the work is sort of shoddy if you were to actually see what's being done. But the good news is you don't have to do a very good job to be able to drive results, because you only have to beat the other dentists in town or whoever it is in town doing that particular thing. And the odds of them being better than you is pretty low, because they all suck really bad.
Right.
So I'm a big fan of bringing it in-house. I think that all medical professionals should bring their marketing in-house. Now, you can pay an agency to get it going. You can pay, just like you pay money to build a house, construct a house, general contractor, but you don't pay on an ongoing basis except for maintenance, right?
Right.
On an ongoing basis, you pay for a little consulting, for little contract jobs. But the thing with digital marketing agencies is they're geared around the idea of a retainer where you continue to pay a few $1,000s every month. And I think that just doesn't make any sense. It makes a lot of money for the agencies, but I think with the way that Google and Facebook are changing things in the industry, they're actively trying to kill that model.
Mm.
And I think it makes sense, even though I've made millions of dollars using that particular model. I just don't think it's going to be the correct model going forward, because the AI tools and the networks themselves are trying to create more efficiency. Let me ask you a question, Justin. Do you know what percent of the dollar that's being paid to an agency actually goes towards implementation?
If I was going to guess, I would guess less than 20%.
It's about 10 cents.
Okay.
So you pay an agency $1, 10 cents goes towards someone actually doing the work. So then the question is, where are the other 90 cents? Like if you give those TV nonprofits, the Feed the Starving Children in Africa stuff that comes on during December.
Right.
And if you donate $1, you know how much actually goes towards feeding those children?
Yeah, probably less than 10 cents, 5 cents.
Yeah, it's the same kind of thing.
Right.
So the agencies that seem to be doing the best, that are the loudest, are the ones who are spending the most on marketing and sales, which by definition means there's less actually going towards building your stuff.
Got it. So if you're going to bring it in-house, because I know you have a mission to employ 1 million people and to bring 1 million people jobs.
Hmm.
What is a way to do that? Can they tie in that mission into bringing that in-house so that it's
Yeah.
really simple?
Yeah. So they probably have a young adult. Maybe it's their son, maybe someone at the local high school or college, maybe someone else in their soccer group. Maybe a young adult in Pakistan, but usually a young adult in your community, someone that you see who's some kid who's 18 and playing Fortnite and is disillusioned with the idea of going to college and maybe doesn't want to work for mom or dad, whatever it might be. They are the ideal candidate because they know technology. They know apps on the phone. They know social media, right? I mean, it's like not even fair, right? These 6-year-olds they know how to use iPads and all that. I did a test last month for the National Funeral Directors Association, which are basically like old white guys, right? That own funeral homes. And I said, let's have a bunch of you guys just have your kids go through our training. Not you guys as, 60-year-old white dudes trying to learn how to do TikTok or dance or no. Let's have your kids that are somewhere as young as 13. And we had others that were maybe like 31 or 32 and have them go through our training, making 1-minute videos using these AI tools and have these kids run your digital marketing, right? Which you would think would be a scary thing because these kids have no experience or whatever. You know what happened, Justin?
I'm sure it crushed it. I'm sure it
It
went
was
through.
amazing.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then I brought them on stage too. I brought all these young adults on stage and I said, give these guys a hand. This one's 13. This one's 23. This one is 15. And look at
Wow.
what they did. And I had the funeral directors talk about that too. And it just made me so warm inside because I know that's a model that we can repeat. I know that there's tons and tons of young adults that if they're given the right structure, they can do the job.
Yeah, I really like that. That's given me a whole bunch of ideas for my kids. Like as I'm trying to train them and give them skills as
I
they're
think my
growing up.
internet died.
Oh, yeah, you're frozen. Almost back. There we go. Welcome back.
Let me see if I can switch the network connection. Hey, I lost you there. Sorry about that.
Yeah.
I think I
Well,
ran
I'm
out of
back.
high-speed LTE.
Oh, got it. Well, thank you very much for coming on. Let's just do a quick close and then we can let you get off to sleeping. So we'll start right here. Is that will do my note? Okay. So Dennis, I really appreciate everything that you've talked about. It's extraordinary how you've given practical solutions from everything from auditing your digital marketing firms to providing and sharing content, how to do that, bringing it in-house so you don't have to pay thousands and thousands of dollars a month with using kids in your neighborhood, use your own kids. You have a program, it sounds like, that can help train those. Can you talk a little bit about that and then we'll wrap it up?
Yeah, you can literally search my name. You can see what we've done for hundreds of universities and also some high schools. We're reaching down to the high school level and start with the video. And I think it's 5 ways to own your digital marketing. And you'll
Okay.
see, I go through step by step. And I think it's like a 40-minute video, step by step on how you can own your own market. Because a lot of doctors are thinking it's too complicated and that's not their area of expertise and they don't have time and all that. But I think if you watch that video, 5 ways to own your own marketing, you'll see that it's not because you're trying to save money, but because you really need to take control and make sure things are being done right. And if the agency, goes under, or you get a different account manager or whatever, then you're not held hostage. I believe you always, it's just like you can own the car without having to be a mechanic, right?
Right.
I'm saying stop leasing, start owning the car. And then you can pay an agency or somebody to build these things, but the ongoing maintenance, like changing the oil or changing a tire, you absolutely can do that yourself.
Got it. I really like that. So thank you very much, Dennis. Is there any way besides what you've given us that would be for people that are like, man, I'm curious to learn more about Dennis. I want to know more about his company. How can they get in contact with you and or your company to pursue more, learn more besides Googling your name?
You can email me. It's dennis@blitzmetrics.com. You can send me a message on LinkedIn or any other sort of channel. I respond. It might take me a day or two if I'm traveling or whatever, but I always respond. And I just want to see everyone win because I know it creates more jobs, and ultimately our goal is jobs. So any questions, if you made it all the way to the end here, kudos to you. I find doctors are the ones who are most likely able, of all the different professions, they're the ones who actually read the training guides, which impresses the heck out of me.
Right.
So I invite you, check it out, read the training guides. Let us know. What do you think? I'd love to see some questions. I'd love, some stuff doesn't make sense, or you have thoughts to how to improve stuff. Like, I'd love to hear it.
Awesome. Thank you very much, Dennis. It's been a pleasure to have you here. Everyone, the reason I brought Dennis on, because you're like, how does a digital marketer have anything to do with finance? Is I want to see you succeed. I want to see you making more money so that you can start looking towards generational impact and changing people's lives. And the way you do that is by constantly growing and getting better. And Dennis provided a ton of actionable ways for you to do that today. Thank you, Dennis. I really appreciate it. And until next time we speak, I'm just grateful for your time.
Thank you, Justin. And thanks for helping everyone have a big life.
Yeah, thank you. Much appreciated.